Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mayank. Good to see you too. Uh, okay, is everyone ready for the class? If you are, say yes. Wow, such readiness. Great. Cool. What are we going to do today? I think we'll just move further into CSS. Maybe I'll tell you about a few cooler things, right? So today there are two things that I have honestly thought of for teaching you. First is something called, hate the marker. First is something called as, this is just as bad. Anyway. First is called layout. The second is called, let's say events, right? We'll just talk about how these things work and what these things are and how CSS can help us achieve those, right? So before I do that, did you guys understand everything of what we did yesterday, or shall I just give a quick overview? If you want me to revise yesterday's class, say yes. Say yes. Oh, wow. Everyone wants me to revise, huh? ठीक है भाई, revise करते हैं. Just remove my watch. Cool. I'm visible, right? Am I visible? Yes. Okay. Am I audible? Loud and clear? Okay. Loud and clear. ठीक है. करते हैं, guys. Next week, by the way, you will be having your interviews. So do not worry. Only the things that we have studied right now and I mean, that we've discussed in the class, only those things will be covered. So if you understand these well, whatever we have talked about, I think you'll be good. Okay. So just try not to worry about anything right now, rather than being serious about today's class, being serious about what I'm going to explain right now, and interview are not going to be a problem. And once you are through with your interviews and everything, they should be sometime next week. Once you're through with your interview and everything, again, I'm only going to be the instructor. Then we'll start deep diving more, and we will start making things complex, more intricate, so to say. Yes, essentially. So it's not like it's going to be a very high bar interview. The intention is to see if you're even interested, right, in pursuing this, right? So there could be some of you who are just here to frolic, here to spam the chat, right? They will eventually be kicked out, right? So if that is not you, if you are someone who is actually interested, if you're someone who has actually listened to even a word that I talk about in the class, you'll be good. Don't worry. Interviews are always oral. Will you teach Java also? Most likely not. I would like to restrict myself only to front end. हाँ आंचल, यही बोला मैंने इंग्लिश में कि क्लासेस के बाद, आपके इंटरव्यूज के बाद मैं ही आपकी सारी क्लासेस लूंगा, राइट? एटलीस्ट फॉर द फ्रंट एंड बिट. Front end matlab, that's going to be the majority of things. Node.js, React.js, CSS, more of HTML, more of React, right? But just keep screen background as white. Screen background is white. Nahi, Next.js nahi hoga. Next.js is only React. So first we will go with front end, or then DSA or backend. Front end and backend will be taken care by me in a way, because backend maybe have something called as Node. Okay, and DSA I'm not taking this time. Okay, this is white now. Okay, guys, today I'm using a different editor. This is called WebStorm. It's the best editor possible for front end. However, it's not a free one. This is a paid editor, so I do not advise that you guys use it. It's an expensive editor, right? Okay, now let's start studying and not talk about nonsense things. Okay. Sir, I am doing my assignment in Visual Code and based in Newton portal after run showing failed test and Visual Show. Bus. I don't know what you're talking about here. Web camera is required for interview. I don't know that. It's called WebStorm. The editor is WebStorm. Storm is the editor. Okay. Okay. So what have we learned yesterday, right? Sabse pehle, this is what we made yesterday, which honestly I think is pretty cool for guys who had no prior experience in front end. Okay. So let's try to understand what we did here, guys. Hamara goal बहुत simple था. We wanted to create a box, right, which is at the very center of the screen, correct? Okay. Then we wanted to write some text inside the box, which is also at the center of the screen, right, which is at the center of that box. We wanted a border, which is actually 10 pixels thick. We wanted the color of the this thing, which is, I don't know what color this is, but we made that color, right? So this is what we had seeked to achieve. And this is what we achieved, right? Cool. The interesting question is how we went about doing this. Okay, so let's talk a bit about that. Okay, so guys, हमने कल पढ़ा था box model. Disable the chat. Cool. Chat is now disabled. We had studied yesterday something called as box model. एक बार बता देता हूँ दोबारा box model क्या था and what were the consequences of it. I think this guy is going to work. I have two, so let me try. Nope. Yes, we have a working marker. Life is better now. ठीक है, ध्यान से सुनना. We'll be talking about box model. So since it's box model, there has to be a block, right? Before that, we talked about two things. हमने बोला था there's something called as inline CSS elements, and there are something called as block CSS elements. ठीक है? The property of inline CSS elements is that they do not span the whole row. जितना space लेना होता है वो उतना space लेते हैं. Those are called inline. Let me write it here. Inline. The other is block. Okay. Just know this, not very consequential. Cool. So there are inline elements and there are block elements. Okay, guys. So now that we know that these are the two types of elements, what is the consequence of it? कुछ भी नहीं. जो block elements हैं, they already have a property. They have a box around them. ठीक है. And since it's a box की कुछ properties होती हैं. Properties क्या होती हैं? So first of all, for defining a box in two-dimensional plane, what you need a boundary, or in this case we call it a border. ठीक है? That may or may not be visible. इस case में visible थी, इस case में visible नहीं. ठीक है? So you may or may not have a border. Cool. That's one. Second is, I mean, if it's block, the border may or may not be visible, but there will be a border. Okay. Now, what is the next thing about box model? There are three properties which happen in a box model. Okay. एक एक करके लिखते हैं. First is called margin. Second is called padding. Third is called, I am sure you guys know about it. Of course, it's called border, right? So what is margin? Margin होता है the distance that this guy maintains with its neighbors. ठीक है? तो अगर इसके यहाँ पे there is some element, यहाँ पे some element, there is some element here, there is some element here, whatever, right? If I say margin of this guy is 10 pixels, so that will mean that the distance between these guys cannot be less than 10 pixels. So basically, it's like it's pushing away मेरे 10 pixels के आसपास कोई भी मत आना. So I have a shield around me of 10 pixels. You cannot come closer than that. ठीक है? That's margin. Okay. Next is called padding. Padding का क्या मतलब होता है? As margin is outwards, padding is inwards. ठीक है? इसका ही मतलब है that whatever are the contents of this box, right? So there are certain contents of this box, right? वो इस box की boundary या फिर border से कितने distance पे है? That is called padding. So this distance is called padding, right? So अगर आपको सब चीजें एक साथ दबानी है अंदर inside this box, what you do is you give padding, right? So if you do not give padding, the content will be on the top left. If you pad it equally from all four sides, then of course the content will be pushed together, right? So that is padding. So when you are wearing heavy clothes, you are heavily padded, right? So like I'm heavily padded today because it's cold. Okay, so margin, padding, border. Okay, border is just this boundary that I was talking about. Border में there are few properties. Of course, first is border का color क्या होगा, border का type क्या होगा, because a border could be dashed, a border could be solid like this border or whatever. There are few other types. You don't need to worry about that. And what will be the thickness of this border? मतलब ये border कितना thick होगा? So this can be 1 pixel thick or 2 pixel thick or 500 pixel thick, whatever, right? So using these three, what CSS forms is a box model. ये important क्यों है? Because when you have a lot of boxes on your website, which is a very, very common use case, okay, whatever you see on a website is a box. This guy is very helpful. Knowing how these boxes arrange themselves is essentially what is the layout of your website, right? किसी website में top bottom top bar होता है, किसी website में side bar होता है, यहाँ पे दो डब्बे होते हैं, यहाँ पे दो डब्बे होते हैं, something, whatever, right? Cool. So we know about this, and we know the importance of box model. ठीक है. One very popular block element which I had talked about yesterday is called div, div. ठीक है. It is an element which which in itself is nothing, but it's a block element which is used to define a section or a division. Div का मतलब division in your HTML document, right? So जो भी आप HTML लिखते हैं, अगर आपको उसमें कोई divisions बनाने हैं, especially जैसे I can have one div जिसका जो मैं top bar के लिए use कर रहा हूँ, I can have another div which I'm using for the sidebar, whatever, right? So div is for division, right? I'll remove this and I'll ask you to ask me questions now. Participants, no, chat, everyone. Okay. Now, if you have any questions with respect to box model, ask. Can you say div it code? Is HR similar to BR? No, HR is different. Okay. Border again. Please talk about assignment in the last was with the div. I will not be talking about the assignment. It's for you right now. Div repeat, please. Div repeat, please. ठीक है. I think div is what you are looking at. ठीक है. Sir, but when is the interview going to be? Yeah, I'm telling you multiple times it's going to be next week. Why are you so worried about it? Sir, margin के अंदर ही padding आता है. What kind of a question is that, यार? Margin is outside, padding is inside. सुनो तो सही जो बोल रहा हूँ. Div क्या होता है? Okay, so I don't know why you guys are so worried about div. Like there are other elements. There is something called as div. Div is used to specify divisions inside your document, and that's literally all it is, yaar. Matlab, so if you draw a box, right, and if you just want to draw an empty box, right, so to say, और आपको उसमें कोई thickness देनी है, कुछ देना है, you can use a div. So basically, div की कोई भी ऐसी खास property नहीं है, apart from the fact that a div is used for containing other HTML elements, right? मतलब ऐसा सोच लो कि div can contain anything, right? So div is an element which can, okay, that's a good way to think about it. Div is an element which can contain anything, right? So it can contain forms, it can contain tables, it can contain whatever, right? So essentially क्या हो रहा है? Div is a small section of your HTML. मतलब आपका HTML पूरा पेज है जिसमें you've written many things, right? You've written H2, unordered list, बहुत कुछ था, right? What to say? So what you can do is you can just wrap all of this. आप इस पूरे को एक div में डाल सकते हैं. And that's what I had done yesterday, right? और फिर मैंने इस div को display none कर दिया था, because of which those things are not showing. Similarly, when I had to make this guy is a div, और उस div की कुछ properties हैं. I had given some inline CSS, so उसका border था, उसका padding था, उसका background color था, उसका margin था. So again, nothing. A div is only a section of the HTML document. So ये पूरा HTML document है, इसका कोई भी एक section पकड़ लो, वो div है. उसकी सिर्फ एक property है कि उसके अंदर में कुछ भी आ सकता है. It can have tables, it can have unordered list, whatever you can think of. Whatever you can place inside the body tag of your HTML can be placed inside a div. बस ऐसा समझ लेते हैं, ठीक है? Very simple. Chat is open again. Then why do we use section tag instead of div? Div just a tag. Div is just a tag. I'll tell you that when I teach you section tag. Until that, wait. Divs, I mean, isn't that an obvious question? I said div के अंदर कुछ भी आ सकता है. It means div के अंदर div भी आ सकता है. What is the significant use of div? I mean, just compartmentalizing your website, yaar. How to put, can you explain? Sir, can you explain Hindi at last? How do we name a div with class or ID? Move on to next topic. I don't know what to say, man. Some nonsense questions in the chat. Oh, wow, guys, you are really something. Absolutely nonsense questions. Chat is disabled. I don't know if you guys are trying to act cool by taking names of tags which other people don't know or whatever, but it's really not cool. I'll tell you what border is because that's a legit question and someone asked that. Right, and what else? Someone asked, I mean, I told you what div is. Div is a section of the document and whatever you want to put inside that, you can put inside that. It can include a div. Rest others are pretty useless questions. Can you repeat what you're going to teach today? I won't do that. Anyway, border. Okay, so let's say you have a block element, right? What is one block element that we know? We know div is a block element, right? So it means, of course, div can have a border, right? Is div ke andar whatever you have to put, that is your business. You put things inside your div. You want to put text, you want to put a form, you want to put whatever you want to put here, right? So you put things inside a div, and let's say हमें उसको border देना था. So what is border? Let's say your div was right now here, right? Now you want to style this guy, these lines, right? The borders of your element. How do you do that? There are three properties that you can style for it. One is its thickness, how thick the border is, right? The color of the border, and finally, the type of the border, right? So it can be a solid border, it can be a dashed border, or whatever. Okay. Let me just show you that live on my screen. Okay. So this is what you're seeing right now. Let me switch it back. Yeah. So this is a div, as you can see. This is a div, right? It has a border right now. Border, jiski thickness is 10 pixel. It's a solid border. So what are the properties border ki jo main change kar sakta hu? I can make the border thinner. So this is a 1 pixel border, 2 pixel border, 3 pixel border, whatever. So let's set it at 1 pixel, let's say, and I can change the type of this guy. So pehle solid tha, I can call it dashed, right? So now let me just increase the font so that you guys are able to see better. Right. So right now, what you see, guys, it's a 8 pixel dashed border, and those are pretty much the properties that you can change, right? So light coral was one color, you can just make it black, right? So there are three properties of a border that we can change: thickness, color, and solid or dashed. But there are more types to it. Solid, dashed ka bahut sara types hota hai. Let's not go into that right now. But I think this should convey the point that what is a border, right? It's demarking the boundaries of a div, of a block element. यहाँ पे div है, and yes, that's pretty much it. This is border. And what is a div? Again, the same question. आपके पास HTML में जो भी है आप उसको div में डाल सकते हो. Div is just a tag which allows you to put other tags inside it. There's no simple way to say it. एक ही property है उसका, that it follows the box model. So border, margin और padding, ये तीन capabilities आपको div दे देता है. That's it. Chat will be opened again. Now chat is open. Go ahead. Any questions about border now? Clear? It should be now. Okay. Can we call border as the line between padding and demargin? Very good thought, Shubham. Yes, you can. It's a demarcation between that. Then I was asked in an interview how to float the div. Okay. So border ke bahar margin and border ke andar padding. Yeah, fair thing to say. PDF. I will not be sending you any PDF. I'm here to teach. It's not mandatory to use div, but to make our code sectional or regional understanding, we're using div, right? Not just that. I mean, it's not mandatory to learn HTML also, but we are doing it for a reason. Div is just for, it's a block element, right? So you need to use it. There is no other block element that you have apart from div, which can contain other HTML elements. So if you're building a serious website, you will be using div inevitably. Details about rem. I don't know what rem is. How to change multiple border properties. Just like I told you, body is also a block element. Of course, it is a block element. We discussed this yesterday. I think nothing useful so far. So chat is now closed. Cool. So what I was planning for you guys today is, just giving you a sense of, just to feel that we're doing something important. Kuch acha banate hain. So I'm just thinking, what is it that we can make probably today, right? So guys, of course, CSS is a very versatile thing, right? Which means you will be able to like create many types of layouts and many things using CSS, right? So what I was thinking is, let's try to create one of them just to understand how CSS works. And the intention is essentially, we try to build something out of CSS, right? Which is slightly, slightly more complex, so to say, right? So one example that I can think of is creating a modal, right? Does anyone know what a modal is? Okay, I can't ask that because chat is disabled, but anyway, I'll tell you, right? So what is a modal? Modal is the thing that pops out to you whenever you are trying to, what do you say? Let's say you click login on some website and just something just comes up to you, right? So that is called a modal, right? And what we can do is we can try to create something like that. Okay. And how do we do that? Let's learn, right? So our modal will be slightly complex actually at this stage, since no, we are still pretty new to CSS. You're right. We are new to CSS. Okay. Anyway, let me think of something other that we can learn. What can we learn today? I want to teach you guys. I don't know what to teach you guys. Okay. Probably we can learn about, I don't know. First, let's learn layout. Okay, so that you guys have a sense of how do you move things around on a page, right? And then we can learn about, what do you say? We can learn about other things, right? So let's start basic here. Okay, so guys, when you are, let's say, let me just give you a very simple example. Let's say there was, so yesterday what we did is there was this box, right? There was this box, right? And there was nothing, there was just text inside it, which we centered, and then we centered the box also, right? But think of it this way. Let's say you had to render boxes in a line, right? So this is one box. Inside, let's build something like this. So there's one box, and inside that box, you have a line of boxes, right? Which is also a common use case on websites. You must have also seen, right? So let's just try to see how we can build that. Okay. So what is the first thing that we are going to need? Right. So I'll just scroll down all the way. Instead of these things that we have written, I'll remove all of this. Okay. And I'll just create another div, right? Because div can be used for boxes. So this is my div inside it. right? Just to identify this properly, div, I'm just going to give it a border of, let's say, 10 pixels, right? So it's a 10 pixel border, and I'm just going to make it solid, and I'm going to make it black, right? So that is first. Then, of course, just to give it some size, otherwise there will be no size. I say padding is, I don't know, 5%, and background color is let's say aqua. I mean, so that it's kind of visible well. Okay, this is all we are making right now. Back to the page and reload the page. And we see a box, guys. A box just came here, right? Because of course we give it certain properties. We'll just make it less thick. So padding is 5% and the rest, right? And if you want to make it tighter, I mean, if you want to put multiple things there, we'll just see what happens. Okay. So what I'm doing, guys, since you had this guy already, I'll just paste it 4 times here. Okay. Then let's see what happens. Let's say we reload the page, and what is happening, guys? They're getting stacked like one after the other, right? They just got stacked automatically. I mean, without me even doing anything. So if we look at the properties of this, right? So there is a box, okay, which is the outermost box. There is a margin of that box. There is a padding inside that box, and there is this whole thing, right? And then these are the boxes. So this is 1 box, this is 2 box, this is 3 box, and it just goes like this, right? Cool. But now what you're seeing, guys, is they are getting stacked in a row. Okay. So what happens if I just add like few more? So let me do this. I'll add 2 more, right? And of course, the box just increased in size. Okay. Now, let's say I just want to make the outer div kind of smaller. I mean, just more compact. So how can I do that? I can probably reduce the padding, right? So right now it's 25. Let's say I make it 10%. So then what happens? These boxes, they become bigger, right? Because right now there is no content inside them. And the thing which was padding them, right? Just try to understand, folks, what is happening here. There is a fixed space on the sides of the screen, right? Because you're saying that, hey, the outer div, its margin should be 10%, which means that since this is the only thing inside body, the distance that it maintains from the walls of the browser, right? It's 10%. What happens if I increase this margin? So what will happen, guys? Then it will start maintaining more space on its side, right? So let's just do that and see what happens. So let's say I make it 20%, come in and reload. So what happened, guys? It just kind of collapsed, right? Okay. Let's say I make it 30%. So it collapsed more, but it's still at the very center of the page. Why is that happening? Because हर जगह से padding is equal, right? हर जगह से margin is equal, right? Just make this 20. That is too big. Okay, right? Now, what you are seeing is these boxes, they are stacked on top of each other. Let's just write something inside them. So we're able to identify, I'll call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Reload. And just to make it look better, I'm just going to say H1, right? H1. Let's copy these. So H1 is heading 1, right? 3, 4, 5, and finally 6. Reload, right? Okay, now H1 is also a block element. So basically it took its own space and it automatically got padded because H1 is big element, right? It's block element. So it means it has top padding and bottom padding by default. Okay, ye to ho gaya. Now let's see what is happening inside this guy, right? Inside this guy, inside the small div guy, the padding that we have given is 5%, right? So basically it's padded from here 5%, it's padded from here 5%, right? Now, think about it this way, guys. How can I center this one? Right? Anyone? I'll just open the chat. Just want to get ideas from you guys. Is there a way by which we can center this one? Okay, by padding, right? Okay, right now think what you know. Padding, margin, and border is all you know. Okay. Okay. Make it 25% padding. Okay, let's stop the class. Let's stop the chat. So padding is 5%. I'm going to increase 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 25%. But it's still not centered. Why is that happening? Let me ask you guys only. Why did this not get centered, guys? When the padding is equal, right? The padding is definitely equal, yeah. Then why did it not get centered? Can anyone think? Why is it not getting centered? Because very simply, the element inside this, right, is H1, right? And inside that H1 is where this 1 lies. Getting my point, guys? So what has happened is padding has applied 25% on each side to the H1 tag. This is H1, and H1 is also block element, remember, right? Did everyone understand my point? Guys, सबको समझ आया? Yes or no? Okay, I'm not enabled the chat probably. Okay, guys, did you understand? Yes or no? Okay, most of you did. Okay, let me close the chat and then explain again. Okay, so I asked you guys, simple, कि इसको center में लाना है क्या करें, right? What you guys said is div का padding 25% कर दो. It should come to the center, but that did not happen. Why did that not happen? क्योंकि guys, padding से क्या हुआ? Padding का मतलब है जो भी अंदर वाली चीज है, मेरे अंदर वाली चीज, मैं कौन हूं? This div, right? This small वाला div. मेरे अंदर की जो भी चीज है, उस पे आप स्पेस डाल दीजिए, राइट? बट इसके अंदर है क्या? दैट्स अ वैलिड क्वेश्चन, राइट? इसके अंदर है एक H1, राइट? एंड नाउ H1 इज आल्सो ब्लॉक एलिमेंट. उसका मतलब ये है गाइस कि H1 के साथ ऐसा नहीं है कि आपने जितना स्पेस मतलब जो डाला उतना ही वो स्पेस ले, वो पूरा अपना स्पेस लेगा, राइट? अगर आपने पैड कर दिया तो वो जो H1 का बॉक्स था, राइट, दिस बॉक्स व्हिच यू आर सीइंग ऑन माय स्क्रीन, H1, right, this box got centered and this box is actually centered, but the one inside that box is not centered, right? Because H1 is also a box, div is also a box, तो वो center नहीं हुआ. Now can anyone tell me कि हम 1 को center कैसे कर सकते हैं? Chat is open. How can we center 1? Padding on what? Okay, H1 padding. That's a very good answer, right? ठीक है. So again, I'm blocking the chat. तो अगर हम इसको span बना दे तो क्या होता है? दोनों देखते हैं, right? Okay. So let's say I'm making a span. Okay, span automatically done. And now going to this guy, right? अब देखो guys, look at the difference, right? So this is, I mean, the whole box, right? Div, but span is occupying a very small space inside it, right? And padding abhi ke liye 5% hai. Now let's see what happens if you try to increase the padding here. Whoops, still did not happen. Why? Let's understand why. Because while the span is 1, the outside element is still div, right? The outside element is still div, and it applied that styling equally, right? So definitely span is not the way to go about it, right? Right? There is something called as float, which earlier someone mentioned, right? आप span में अगर float डाल दें, so there is something called as float right, there is something called as float inherit, there is something also called as, so there are multiple options that this guy float gives you. But what float does essentially is आपके पास जो भी space available था, it's applicable on an inline element. So span is an inline element, as you guys know. So what is the space available to this guy? This guy has this div के अंदर वाला space available because rest is padding. The green area is padding. It's only the blue area inside which it can move. The moment you say float right, it will just move to the right side, right? So applicable on inline element and just moves that inline element towards the very right of your available space. Okay. So someone asked float. I just wanted to answer that. That is done. Okay. Now, one thing is very clear that you will still not be able to center it. Okay. Because what happens, guys, is this guy is still taking its space. Hai na? However, what we are doing is we are applying padding from everywhere, right? Right. Okay, I'm okay. Let me just enable the chat, or just let's just take some more time. We are enable padding from everywhere. What if we just enable padding from the left side, which is also doable, right? So okay, let me not first apply here because otherwise it will just collapse and not be in the center also. So there is padding, of course. What if I say padding dash left? So I apply a padding just to generally center it, and then I say padding left, right? And let's say I say 6%, right? And then I start increasing this padding. So at about 50% of its value, or less than that, of course, this guy is at the very center, isn't it? And let's just make it bigger to ताकि अच्छे से दिख जाए, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'll again make it H1, right? Reload the page, and padding is 5%. That's fine. Padding left is let's say 40%. And reload the page. Let's say it's 45%, and reload the page, right? So if you look at it now, what is happening, guys? Here pe is it's leaving a padding. I mean, in this div, right? You have given a padding of left side as 45%. This is your div. This is your H1. So now, essentially, this H1 element has been pushed from the left side by 45%, right? But ab yahan se bhi 5% tha right side se, so it's kind of coming in the center, right? A good way of looking at this is hum padding right ko 0 kar dete hain, 0%, right? So now it's not getting stretched kisi bhi jagah se. Okay. Let me just enable the chat again. 1 second. Everyone. Okay. Did everyone understand what we just did? Not very hard, right? So this is the very basic of getting things in the center, right? ठीक है. अब guys, कल जो चीज सीखा था ना उससे इसको करते हैं. आओ देखते हैं. हिंदी में बताएं सर एक बार. हिंदी में बता देते हैं यार आपको. So first padding 5% is for inside H1 box, and then 45% is for text inside. Is it so? No. Padding of div will always be for what is inside. Inside there is a box, right? So H1 is a box. उसके ऊपर आपको जो लगाना है आप लगा सकते हैं, right? ठीक है. Let's stop the chat and let's just make it. Let's just center all of these. ठीक है. फिर वहां से आगे चलते हैं. Okay. So guys, अब problem क्या होने वाला है यार? अगर मैं इसको बार बार उठा के कॉपी पेस्ट करता जाऊं आगे वाले डिव्स में, तो द कोड इज गेटिंग वेरी लॉन्ग, राइट? मतलब कोड पढ़ना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाएगा. लेट्स से देयर आर 100 डिव्स, तो 100 टाइम्स अपने को ये बात वील हैव टू राइट दिस थिंग. सो इज देयर अ वे दैट आई कैन राइट दिस कोड वंस, मतलब ये स्टाइल वाला कोड, एंड यूज इट एट मल्टीपल प्लेसेस? चैट इज ओपन. Absolutely. Class or ID? Why class and not ID? ID is unique और हमें बहुत सारों पे लगाना है. ठीक है, ठीक है. ऐसा करते हैं गाइस, अपन इस पे क्लास लगा देते हैं. सो चैट इज क्लोज्ड अगेन. मैंने ये सारी चीजें कॉपी की यहाँ से, राइट? इसकी क्लास बना लेते हैं. लेट्स कॉल द क्लास माय बॉक्स, राइट? और उसके अंदर में अपन ये चीजें डाल देते हैं, राइट? And this my box class upon we can just use as a class of in our divs, right? So I went to this div. मैंने पूरा style वाला चीज हटा दिया गया. Oh, not this one. This one. Okay, this one. I say class is equal to my box, right? And बस simply ये वाला चीज यहाँ पे copy कर दिया. And यहाँ पे primary. And go back to the browser, reload. Ta-da! Everything is centered. Simple enough. Simple enough. Great, great, great. Simple enough. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. ID is unique. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. If it's simple, that's amazing. ठीक है. हमने इसको center कर दिया. Right. Now एक और चीज आ रही है मेरे दिमाग में. What is that? How do I make these guys squarish? इनको square कैसे बनाया जाए guys? When we put a span, why was there a blue box? There was no blue box ever. Equal padding in H1. Kash, इसमें भी loop use कर सकते हैं. We'll talk about it later. Can you please explain what that 5% same height and width? ठीक है guys. Let me pause you here now. So there are two questions which were raised. ठीक है. एक तो अभी हमने क्या किया है? We are just giving margins and paddings and expecting something well to happen. इसको square बनाना चाहते हैं हम, right? But अभी वो square इसलिए नहीं बन सकता because the screen of my laptop in itself is not square. The dimension along x-axis is much larger than the dimension along y-axis, right? Because of what? Because of that, what happens is आपकी जो भी चीजें हैं, they get stretched like this, है ना? Because आप padding का percentage दोगे, आप margin का percentage दोगे, so that will equally get applied to both your this side and I mean the x-axis and the y-axis, right? And since the x-axis is longer in any computer screen, it appears to be a rectangle. Very simple explanation. Now you guys are asking me, some people are asking me 45.5 वाला क्या फंडा है? देखो इधर. So this is a box, ठीक है? Chrome is smart enough to tell me यहाँ पे क्या क्या styling लगी हुई है. So what I did is I said पहले padding 45 हटा देते हैं. What I did is padding 5%. ये सबको समझ में आता है? So basically this ये box है, my box. इसमें इसको हर जगह से 5% पैड कर दिया. ऊपर से भी, इधर से भी, इधर से भी, इधर से भी, right? But inside this there is something called as H1, right? H1 क्या होता है guys? H1 is also a block element. इसका मतलब वो पूरा स्पेस ले लेगा जिसको जितना उसको मिलता है. ठीक है, उसको स्पेस कितना मिलेगा भाई? उतना ही मिलेगा जितना डिव ने छोड़ा हुआ है. तो डिव ने कितना छोड़ा हुआ है? इफ इस डिव को आप देखो, so there is this green border around it, right? This green border here, right? Because this was padded. Rest available space H1 automatically takes. Now inside this H1, again, it's a block element, so it took all the space. But हमें क्या करना था? We had to center this guy, right? We had to center this guy somehow. So what I did is मैंने इसको padding 5% equal दे दिया, but because I want to center it from the left side, what I start doing guys is, ध्यान से देखना यहाँ पे, here I start increasing this padding left. ठीक है, let's say 5% था पहले, and when I start increasing it, what is happening is this div, right? This div that you're looking at, it's slowly pushing that one to the left, right? And push till 45, right? And that's it. Now this H1, is H1 को space ही आपने इतना दिया because 45% you've already taken from this side, right? And not really 45%, you have taken 50% from this side. 45% उसका, 5% उसका. And that's how it got to that 50% value, which we know is half or the center. Did everyone understand this? Please tell me on chat. Is it clear now? We can use text align, but we are just trying to learn padding and margin and stuff, box model, right? So we'll come to this. but we cannot write 1 in left. What does that even mean? It cannot be made a square. Of course, it can be made a square. भाई कर बता रहा हूँ ना, रुको ना थोड़ा. Again, please explain in short. Kiran is asking again, explain in short. ठीक है. I think I'll explain it again. Okay, now shut up everyone. What did we discuss? हमने क्या बोला? Padding सबको समझ में आता है. We had given this guy 5% padding, right? 5% padding right here, which means from every side, ऊपर से नीचे से इधर से, it gets padded by 5%, right? 5%, right? But that does not center it. So what I'm saying is to center it, if you start increasing the padding from left side, right? What will happen is the div will try to will take more and more space left side से. और मैंने उस space को कितना बढ़ा दिया? I made that space as 45%, which means जो भी content था उसके अंदर का, which is that H1, will now get lesser and lesser and lesser space from the left side, right? So inevitably वो होगा क्या? It will get pushed towards the right side. So padding left का मतलब right side में movement. जब हमने उसे 45% कर दिया, 45 इधर से, 5 already छोड़ा हुआ था, it becomes 50%, which means the center. I cannot explain this better than this. Did everyone understand? Okay, great. Clear? Not very hard, right? ठीक है. अब guys देखते हैं square का क्या करें यार. Because square is really giving me the freaks. भाई simple सी बात है. Why is it causing so much trouble? It is causing so much trouble because मैंने बताया ना, the screen is different. The screen dimension along y-x axis is much larger. Screen ऐसा होता है ना. Screen is a rectangle. Screen is not a square, right? And when you're giving margin and padding, आप बराबर दे रहे हो. So what can the browser do? If you look at this, the browser can only do so much, right? We are giving everything in percentages, but we know for a fact, bhai, this length is longer. So 50% of this or 40% of whatever of this is also going to be longer. So how do we fix that? Not very hard actually. We again, of course, it's about using a CSS property. So guys, like you have these things, you have padding and margin. CSS also gives you another property, which is about wherein you can specify the geometries of that object. Geometry का क्या मतलब है? So you can say width, right? So if I say width is 10 pixels, right? So the width becomes 10 pixels. If I say height and I say height is 10 pixels, it should work on this div. That has already happened, but आपको दिख नहीं रहा है. And I'll just come to the fact why ऐसा हो रहा है. Let's just remove all of these things, okay? I'll give this background color and I will give this padding so that it's large enough and you're able to see. और border भी दे देते हैं यार. So now guys, what has happened is this guy is getting 10 pixel from everywhere, which is slightly less. थोड़ा बड़ा कर देते हैं. 5% कर देते हैं. 6, 8, 10% कर देते हैं. And इसको भी 10% कर देते हैं. But that made a rectangle. Why did it make a rectangle? Because I just told you, right? The browser का screen is of different ratios in X and Y axis. But अगर 100 pixel करते हैं, तो of course it will be a square, right? Everyone understood? How we center the one is something I'll come to later. ठीक है? So I'll remove the padding also inside this box completely. So now you can see it's become a square, right? So equal height and equal width can help you make a square. Everyone understood how we make a square? Chart is open again. Square समझ में आया सबको? Equal height, equal width is what makes it a square, right? Cool. Okay. So now let's make all of them squares because that's what we wanted to do. हमें तो सब square बनाना था. Okay. How do I do that, guys? Height and width डाल देते हैं. In the names in the my box, I'll keep the border, I'll keep the padding, I'll remove padding left because padding left करोगे तो it will inevitably become a rectangle because it will just push everything to the left and it will not honor वो वाला चीज. ठीक है? So what I'm saying is width is 100 pixels and height is also 100 pixels. Reload. Wow, square everywhere, right? But again, the problem is still there. ये वाला जो h1 है guys, इसके अंदर का h1 is still a rectangle, है ना? अगर h1 rectangle है तो उसके अंदर मतलब it will still have those geometries वाला problem. x axis भाई x axis बड़ा है, y axis छोटा है, तो 1 तो सेंटर में नहीं आएगा. 1 को सेंटर में कैसे ला सकते हैं? Let's just try few things out. Okay, first thing is if we use an inline element, तो अपने को पता है that hey, it will not what do you say? It will not occupy like a full box. Okay, so let's try that. I mean, that's the first thing that should come to your mind also. Okay, but that did not help you. Why did not help you? Let's see. Because guys, now what is happening is आपका ये box है, इसके अंदर ये span है which is not taking any space, but box में आपने क्या किया? You've given padding 5%, so it means it's padded from everywhere, right? But whatever you have put inside the span, that will start from the very top left only. Na? How will it have a way to come like that, right? So again, if you try to give paddings that way, then it will screw up the alignment of the box, right? So can anyone think is 1 को center कैसे करेंगे? Let me open the chat. How can we center this 1, guys? Float will not work. What if you say float right? Through padding, text align center. Okay, text align. अच्छा देखते हैं text align center से क्या होता है. Everyone has asked this. Text align center नहीं चलता. How do I center this? Is the question. Someone is saying margin. Giving margin. Okay. Padding left and on which one? On this box? Okay, so right now it's 5% padding. Let's say I increase it 6%. If I make it 50%, will it be centered? No, it's still not centered because the geometries will not be equal of x and y axis. Then how do I center it? Center the border, that makes no sense यार. Padding left देके देख लो, चलो padding left भी दे देते हैं. It's here, this box. You say padding left, padding dash left. 10% कर दें. That will definitely work, but you will not have you will not have control, right? We have not learned flexbox, so you can't use that. Please don't do that. So what do we do here? The span is there, this thing is there. How do I center it? Okay, someone is saying margin. Let's try that. Margin on, of course, span hi lagega. So margin, if I do, these things don't work. So you're saying margin 50%. If I do 45, something around 45%, this is centered. Let's say 40% or something. I mean, it's horizontally centered, but how do I vertically center it then? It's a span. You've given it margin. So span को margin देने से कोई point नहीं है ना, guys, because span is an inline element, which means उसका ऊपर और नीचे कुछ होगा नहीं. See, think of it this way. If this guy was H1, right, which means it's a box, right? Now box will have both top and bottom margin, right? मतलब उसमें अगर if you start giving margin, that will be from every place. So let's say I say 50%, or let's say some more reasonable number, 38, 40, some percentage, right? Then it will style itself at the very center. Isn't it? Will this work? Okay, Abhishek says use another div. Abhishek, how will that help us? Let's say I put another div, but let's try everything, okay, that we know. Let's say I do another div and that has 1, right? I reload. So now what we have is we have a div. Okay, guys, iske andar there is another div. right? And let's say is div mein I give a padding of 45%. Wow, now something seems to be working. Why is this working? I mean, let's give it a more reasonable number, 45% or something. Okay, now let's try to understand what is going on here. So guys, since you know ये एक div है, which means it's a box, right? हमने क्या किया? हमने एक box के अंदर एक और box डाल दिया, right? And we know inside this box, which is a block element, we can give whatever padding, whatever thing we want, right? And by giving this div, ऊपर वाला div, a padding of 5%, you are ensuring that जो भी इसके अंदर में है, that is padded from equal, I mean, padded by equal numbers, right? 5% इधर से padded है, 5% इधर से padded है, cool. And the internal div, right, which is of course of some dimension, right, which is, and when you start giving padding to this guy, it will start adopting its own geometry, right? Getting my point, guys? It's getting padded by equal percentages from each side. At 50%, the contents of the div are equally spaced, right? But if you click this guy, is everyone getting the point? I mean, what that I'm trying to make? Okay, so reload. So div inside a div can be a solution. What if we apply class as my box to internal div? Let's try that out. Since you said it, iska class bhi, what someone is saying is we can give it also a class which is called my box. Reload the page. Doesn't work, right? So this guy has my box. This guy also has my box. What happens when we put 1000 instead of 1? Okay, let's try that also. Reload. The problem is still the same, right? The problem is still the same. There's no H1. There's only a div inside it, which needs to be centered. Right, guys? So this is centering the div. I mean, the padding is 5%. Let's say you were to increase this padding by, I don't know, 25% from each side, right? Now the problem that you have is this guy is not in the center of its own div, right? Which you can do. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, let's just keep building on top of this and we'll later make sense of what we want to do. Okay. So, let's forget about centering right now. Let's move on to another problem. What I'm saying now, guys, is please don't write these things on chat. I'll just disable it again. We need to focus, guys. What I'm saying right now, guys, is yahan pe, this thing, right? Right now, these boxes are sticking to each other, right? There is a certain stickiness between these boxes. Is there a way we can remove the stickiness? And in the sense, can we arrange them in a way that there is a certain space between each of the boxes? Does anyone have an answer? Chat is open. How can I increase the space? See, BR, okay, yeah, margin is the way, you're right. So, and not just margin, guys, a specific type of margin, right? If I give margin bottom to each of these divs in the class, then also it will work, right? So what I'm saying is, let me open this. I select this, and inside the mybox class, what I'll do is margin dash bottom, and let's say I give it some value, 1%, right? See what is happening as you have given it margin, or let's put it in pixels. That would be easier to maintain. 1 pixel, 2 pixel, 3 pixel, 5 pixel. Did we understand, guys, the point that is being made here? So this allowed us to create a certain space between these things, right? This is not table, so there's nothing as border collapse. Okay. So what all we have achieved until now, hey, we had created this box, we have created smaller boxes inside it, we have created some space between these smaller boxes also. But now let's move one step forward. Okay. Now guys, what is happening here is each box is containing these spaces, right? What I'm saying is each div that you see here div is a block element, you know. So block element means it takes the whole line that is available to it, right? Because of which getting them together in one row, it practically becomes impossible, है ना? Right? It should be, because एक तरफ we are saying, hey, the div is a block element, it will just take all the space given to it. But guys, think of it this way. What if you were able to change this behavior? What if you were able to change this behavior? So there is something called as display, right? So this display block that you read about is the default display of a div, right? So if I do block, it's looking like this. There is another type of display, it's called inline, right? What just happened, I'll tell you later. We'll discuss. There is yet another type of display which is called inline block, right? So now what happens, guys? Look at the size of this div. The lower div, it's still occupying that whole size, but this div is only occupying this limited space, right? In whichever it is able to complete itself. मतलब ऐसा नहीं है that it's occupying the full space. Look at this div, it's occupying the full space. Look at this div, it's only occupying जितना space उसको दिया गया है, right? So what happens if I go to this guy also? I mean, instead of editing it here, अगर हम यहाँ पे in the class we say display inline block, magic happens, right? Pretty cool, right, guys? Arey, thoda excitement, guys. Come on. You're learning these such complex things in very easily. If you go to a CSS tutorial, you'll go mad looking at these things. ठीक है, तो अब इससे क्या हुआ guys? Inline block करने से वो div inline भी आ सकते हैं और वो block में भी आ जाएंगे, because जितना भी space उस line में available था, अब line में space तो भाई उतना ही available है ना. Look at this green guy, right? This green guy padding. This green guy is padding. इससे ज़्यादा आप भर नहीं सकते. Then you have to spill over to the next line, right? Now, look at this बाहर वाला box, right? इस बाहर वाले box में, if we start reducing the padding 9%, 8%, the divs will start coming. मतलब इससे ज़्यादा कर नहीं पाओगे. उसके लिए आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा? बाहर वाले बॉक्स को ही बड़ा करना पड़ेगा. उसके लिए आपको उसका मार्जिन रिड्यूस करना पड़ेगा. So I'm reducing the margin. अभी भी नहीं आ पाया because the box in itself is very big. So to fit these boxes, आप क्या कर सकते हैं guys? आप इसको थोड़ा छोटा बना सकते हैं. We'll make it 50 pixels and we'll make this also 50 pixels. And then magic happens. Beautiful, isn't it? Where we started, what we are getting to, everything is clear. Is everything clear, guys? Come on, yes or no? Right? Right? So we started with rectangles, we made it into square. Now we are going into layout. So guys, layouting in the world of CSS or in the world of web development is one of the more complex problems. ठीक है? मतलब it's not something जो बहुत आसानी से आ जाता है, and इसके लिए बहुत सारी चीजें बनाई गई हैं, right? So अभी आपने डिस्प्ले इनलाइन देखा, इनलाइन ब्लॉक देखा, बहुत सारे टाइप के आपने डिस्प्ले देखे, right? ऐसे ही अब नए तरीके के डिस्प्लेज आ रहे हैं. There's something called as grid, there is something called as flex, जो मैं आपको पढ़ाऊंगा, using which you can do these things very, very easily, right? But we need to learn the concept first, and that's why I took you through this longer route. जब हम flex पढ़ेंगे तो you will realize, अरे यार ये तो ऐसे ही हो जाता है, right? Okay, so reload the page and भाई सब खराब हो गया दोबारा, right? But we understood everything, right, guys? Or shall I repeat once again? Who wants me to repeat again? Again, लिख दो chart पे. Right? Again, if you want me to explain this whole thing once again. ठीक है, ओके, ठीक है. नाउ आई एम गोइंग टू शट यू अप और हम इसको समझते हैं दोबारा, राइट? ठीक है फोक्स, मैंने आपसे क्या बोला? वी स्टार्टेड विद द प्रॉब्लम. कॉन्सेप्ट इनलाइन का है और कॉन्सेप्ट ब्लॉक का है, राइट? डिव का बाय डिफॉल्ट नेचर क्या है? हमें पता है भैया, डिव इज अ ब्लॉक एलिमेंट. ब्लॉक एलिमेंट्स का क्या मतलब होता है, एक बार समझ लो. ब्लॉक मीन्स दे ऑक्यूपाई द होल विड्थ व्हिच इज अवेलेबल टू देम. अब भाई इस डिव को कितनी विड्थ अवेलेबल है? इसको इतनी विड्थ अवेलेबल है जितना इसका जो पेरेंट है, जो इसका बाहर वाला है, उसने पैड किया हुआ है. पैडिंग का क्या मतलब होता है? चीजों को प्रेस, यू प्रेस एवरीथिंग टुगेदर. सो दिस आउटर गाय, राइट, the green border that you see here, this green border is padding, right? इस padding का क्या मतलब है guys? इतना तो इसको दबना ही पड़ेगा. और अंदर क्योंकि वो div है, उसको जितना भी दबाओगे वो उसके अलावा सारा स्पेस ले लेगा. तो ये div क्या करता है? इसके पास इतना स्पेस अवेलेबल था, ये पूरे स्पेस को ले लेता है. मतलब इसने पूरा ले लिया. अब इस लाइन पे और कोई नहीं आ सकता. ठीक है, ब्लॉक एलिमेंट्स की प्रॉपर्टी इज दिस, दैट वंस दे टेक अ स्पेस ऑन लाइन, they will not allow anyone to come there, right? And if you look at this very carefully, Chrome browser is automatically telling you कि भैया इसका डिस्प्ले ब्लॉक है. बट इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि आप इसका डिस्प्ले मैन्युअली चेंज नहीं कर सकते. So CSS is giving you the property which is called display. There are multiple types. इसमें बहुत सारे हैं. अभी नहीं समझा पाऊंगा सारे. We'll keep moving to this, right? So हमने एक स्पेशल टाइप का सीखा जिसका मतलब है इनलाइन ब्लॉक. तो इनलाइन ब्लॉक क्या करता है गाइस? वो ब्लॉक को इनलाइन बना देता है. div was a block element, we made it into an inline element, right? अब इनलाइन का क्या मतलब है? भाई जितनी उसको जगह की जरूरत है वो उतनी ही लेगा, उससे ज्यादा नहीं लेगा. Cool. So let's just experiment with this. अभी के लिए हमारे बॉक्सेस वर 100 पिक्सल. मैं इनको कर देता हूँ 50 पिक्सल और इसको भी कर देता हूँ 50 पिक्सल. लेट्स सी व्हाट दैट हैपेंस. कुछ भी नहीं बदला गाइस. अभी भी एक लाइन में एक ही आ रहा है. क्यों आ रहा है एक लाइन में एक? बिकॉज भाई लेता तो वो पूरा स्पेस है ना. देखो इट्स एक्सपैंडिंग द होल रो. बाकी स्पेस अवेलेबल ही नहीं है किसी के लिए. बट इफ आई चेंज वन प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ इट, मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि भाई आई नो कि इसका डिस्प्ले ब्लॉक है, लेकिन क्या तुम इसे ब्लॉक से इनलाइन बना सकते हो? बिकॉज इफ यू डू दैट, आई नो वो अब उतना ही स्पेस लेगा जितनी उसको जरूरत है. उसका मतलब क्या होगा? जो नीचे वाले डिव्स हैं उनको स्पेस मिल जाएगा. एंड व्हेन यू रीलोड द पेज, एवरीथिंग स्टार्ट्स टू फॉल इन प्लेस. नाउ द प्रॉब्लम इज, अब यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है गाइस? 1 2 3 4 वो उतना ही स्पेस ले रहे हैं, बट सारे एक साथ एक लाइन में नहीं आ पा रहे बिकॉज बॉक्स में जगह इतनी थी, राइट? सो दिस ब्लू एरिया दैट यू आर सीइंग, ये मतलब कैसे दिखाएं? दिस एरिया दैट यू आर सीइंग इज द ओनली अवेलेबल एरिया टू दीज गाइस. अब अगर या तो इनकी विड्थ छोटी हो जाए या फिर बाहर की पैडिंग जो कंप्रेशन है दैट समहाउ रिड्यूसेस. सो हाउ कैन आई डू दैट? लेट्स सी हाउ आई कैन डू दैट. एक क्लास बना लेते हैं यार, इजी हो जाएगा. डॉट आउटर बॉक्स, राइट? जस्ट गो टू दिस गाय. इसका जो भी था उसको कॉपी कर लेते हैं. जस्ट गोना कॉपी दिस गाय. ओके, क्लास is equal to outer box. Okay, go back here, paste these things. एक एक लाइन छोड़ देते हैं. राइट, लाइन छोड़ दिया. रीलोड करो. सब सेम है because we've not changed anything except making it class से. What happens here is इस padding को जो आपने 10% दी हुई थी, which is too much, इसको थोड़ा सा कम कर देते हैं. So what I'm saying is 10 का जगह 5 कर दो. Let's see what happens. रीलोड करते हैं पेज को. अभी भी पूरा नहीं हुआ. 0 कर देते हैं यार. 1 कर देते हैं. चलो. अरे भाई अभी भी नहीं मान रहा. बिकॉज नो मैटर, अगर आप पैडिंग 1 भी कर दो, 0 भी कर दो, ओके तब तो फिट हो गया लकीली. बट इफ देयर वाज स्टिल लेस स्पेस, बिकॉज यू नो बाहर का जो मार्जिन है इस, हमने इसको एक मार्जिन भी दिया हुआ है, राइट? सो दिस ग्रे पार्ट, मतलब दिस ऑरेंज पार्ट इज द मार्जिन व्हिच इज प्रेसिंग दिस बॉक्स बाहर से, right? So you can reduce the margin also. So जैसे margin reduce करोगे, this box will start taking its width, right? So let's say I make the margin as 10%. I go back here, I reload, and tada, everything is working as expected, right? But there is this outer box, right, which has its property. Now, if you look at it, guys, यहाँ पे if this outer box had some proper left padding, हम इसको equal भी बना सकते हैं, right? Because margin is 10%, but this place, right? This place, some space is getting left, right? So it will be really nice if we could just center this. How do we do that? I'm just going to pad it from the left side. Padding left. These things don't work. So I say 2%, right? And I just increase it. And this is looking about all right. 10%. That will look ugly. Yeah, that's my whole point. Or if you want to increase this padding, that works too, without increasing this padding. Yeah, man, of course, you get the point, right? So just reloading the page, making sure we understand everything. Chat को enable कर देते हैं, guys. Everyone. ठीक है. Understood? It's easy, right? बहुत मुश्किल तो नहीं है, guys. It's not that hard, right? We can understand it, everyone. I know it's a lot to comprehend, guys. I'm not saying कि एक ही दिन में सब कुछ आ जाएगा, but see, of course, I'll share the code. Don't worry about that. It's a hard concept. Let me tell you very frankly, it's not an easy concept. But again, you have to start somewhere, right? So we are starting somewhere. Yeah, this is your second class on CSS. Do you want to like become an expert tonight? That does not happen. Time दो ना थोड़ा. जितना बोल रहा हूँ उतना समझो, and things will happen. So whatever I'm teaching you, just focus on that. Don't try to jump. Is it possible we can do padding from left, right, top and bottom at a time? Yes, ma'am. That's what, or sir, your name is not really telling me. Padding means padding from every location equally. When you say padding left, padding right, padding whatever, it means a specific type of padding. Sir, I'm not in any class today because of manager. Please help me in situation. Dude, what you are doing is, what you can do is, these lectures are uploaded, उनको देख लेना. हिंदी में बता दीजिए. हर्षद भाई हिंदी में क्या बताएं? देखो, ये पैडिंग थी इस एरिया की, राइट? इनके बीच में मार्जिन है, बॉक्स के बीच में मार्जिन हमने दिया हुआ है. मतलब आई डोंट नो, हर्षद कहाँ से बताऊं? व्हाट यू वांट मी टू टेल? हिंदी में बताता हूं. I want everyone to learn equally. If I hope language barrier नहीं है. Guys, assignment is something that you're supposed to do on your own. अभी के लिए let's just focus on what we are teaching, right? That's more important. Guys, your mentors will be helping you with those assignments. Don't worry about it. This session is for learning these things, right? जो हम concept सीख रहे हैं. So just learn the concept. It is not going to get mastered in a day, Sweta. Believe me, it takes time, but just understand what I'm trying to tell you, and that will be enough. Understand and practice, हो जाएगा. So guys, you can either internally share the assignments between yourself or something like that. But right now, I just want to focus on teaching. Otherwise, it gets very overwhelming for others, right? Okay. I'm not saying that you will be expert at this aaj hi raat ko. That's not happening. Just understand what I'm trying to tell you. That's all that is needed. Ho jayega, guys. Don't worry. Stop worrying. Did you not get frustrated with illogical questions of some people? I do get. Box shadow I'm not covering today. It will be too complex. I'll just upload this code. Hang on. I'll just pause the chat. I'll just upload this assignment so that you guys can practice or something. Upload my code, not assignment. Just upload it on Zoom chat. We'll just wait for 2-3 minutes. Download kar lo. Otherwise, you guys will keep saying code. take the code. Just wait for, I'll just give 1 more minute. Okay, I'll enable the chat again. Folks, do you want me to stop? Because I know we've couple of things have happened today. We've practiced margin padding, jo bhi sikha tha. So we can take this forward, but I don't want to keep you learn 100 things and not retain 10 of them. It's better you learn 10 things and retain 5 of them. Like I said, div के अंदर आप कुछ भी रख सकते हैं. Not just table. Enough. Okay, enough for today. Thank you, Jayant. How much time it will take to get expert in coding? About few months, at least 6 months, 1 year or more. Thank you, Arshad. बॉक्स के एक लाइन में कैसे किया है यही से बता दीजिए. ठीक है भाई, बता देते हैं. कुछ भी नहीं किया यार. मैंने आपको क्या बताया कि जो ब्लॉक एलिमेंट्स होते हैं वो नहीं कर सकते. मतलब जिस लाइन में ब्लॉक एलिमेंट्स है वहां पे कुछ और नहीं आ सकता, राइट? तो पहले तो हमें इस डिव का नेचर बदलना पड़ेगा. हाउ डिड वी चेंज द नेचर? हमने नेचर कैसे चेंज किया भाई? हमने इसका डिस्प्ले इनलाइन ब्लॉक कर दिया. इनलाइन ब्लॉक का मतलब है ब्लॉक से इनलाइन बन जाओ. इनलाइन का क्या मतलब होता है? वो उतना ही स्पेस लेते हैं जितनी जरूरत होती है, वो पूरी रो को नहीं ऑक्यूपाई करते. सो दैट वाज द बेसिक थिंग जिसकी वजह से हमें सबको लाइन में ला पाए. उसके बाद हमने क्या किया गाइस? हमने इस बॉक्स की, ये वाला जो बाहर वाला बॉक्स है, इसकी विड्थ मतलब बढ़ा दी ताकि सारे जो भी एलिमेंट्स है वो उसके अंदर आ पाए. उसके लिए आई डिड 2 थिंग्स. एक, मैंने इस बॉक्स की पैडिंग कम कर दी सो दैट यू नो मतलब वो दबा नहीं रहा उनको बहुत ज्यादा, एंड देयर इज स्पेस फॉर इट. एंड सेकेंडली, जो आउटर मोस्ट लेयर है दिस वन, मैंने इसका मार्जिन भी कम कर दिया सो दैट इट कैन रियली एक्सपैंड. इतना ही तो किया. What will happen if we did text align center? Just take a while, guys. Look at the code. Hey guys, was just facing some connectivity issues here. Back. Okay, yeah. If you do not have once representation, why move to WebStorm from VS Code? I just use WebStorm. I like it sometimes. Please explain those heightened bit you have added. कुछ भी नहीं है यार. So the div है. div को either it will assume its own height and width, margin और padding देके, या फिर आप उसको width और height देके specify कर दो कि भाई 50 pixels ही लेना है. That's what I've done. To make it a square, I've just said 50% height, 50 pixel height, 50 pixel width, and that's what happened. Code I've already given it to you. Don't ask the same question again and again, please. If you need to learn DSA to get into Amazon for SE rules or even some development also. Okay, are you asking me or telling me? You can leave, folks, if you do not have any questions. I'll just stop the teaching here. What are the skills needed to get job in Amazon? Extremely good command on algorithms is what is needed to get into Amazon. Why are left and right padding not uniform? They are uniform. जितना भी आप left से pad करते हो, उतना right से भी pad करते हो. Thank you, Karishma. Great, glad that you liked it. What language we learned for backend? Do you love? Don't talk nonsense on the chat, please. I will kick you out. What do we do to improve algo from our side? Just keep listening. जो यहाँ पे बता रहा हूँ. I don't know. Love Babar or whatever. I don't know what that is. I have uploaded the code already on the chat. You can scroll up. DSA will start soon here. Okay, he must be. I don't know who he is. I use Python for backend. Great. Can you give a short explanation of ID in class once again? ID किसी भी element को uniquely identify करने के लिए होता है. Class होती है for unifying, for giving, मतलब styling a lot of things together. So a class of things or ID unique होता है. Can't find anyone, please share. This is the answer. What will happen if we did text align center? Can we able to do that? You can do text align center, but it will not work यहाँ पे. I'm from Macfield. So okay, great, glad you like it. पहले give interviews, तब JavaScript भी शुरू करेंगे. मैं ही पढ़ाऊंगा भाई. So what is the expected salary of SD as a fresher in tech? Amazon like company, just for motivation. The starting salary of tech in a company like Amazon is 32 to 34 lakhs for a new SD. What is the basic work of front-end developer and back-end developer? Front-end developers work on making apps, they work on making websites, and many complex things there. Back-end developers work on making back-end systems, databases, APIs, which power those apps. Sir, why are those things not showing that you have coded earlier? I don't know what you're saying. Are you in Delhi? No, I'm not. Can you explain the get post? Sir, can you get post method difference? No. Can we give interview in Hindi? आपको जिस language में देना है आप दे सकते हैं. Sir, if you may explain form methods a bit. Explain form. यार methods अभी से कहाँ बातें कर रहे हो यार? ये सब चीजें आप लोग get post आने दो ना मुझे. Let me get you there. Anyone can do this course. Is full stack development and full stack engineer the same? Yes, it is the same. HTML form methods. It was there in the assignment. Bhai front end पढ़ाई चल रही है APIs में. Okay. Takes people take it easy. We are new to this field. Sir, please. Okay. Thank you. I have low marks in 10th. Will I face problem? कोई तरीका है sir? Every FANG company, if you want to say. Do you want to say FANG company or do you want to say FAD company? No, they're very different. Thank you. Bye. I am full stack, but I have been 12 pass can do this course. I used to be a front-end engineer for the longest. I'm joining Facebook as a front-end engineer though. Thank you, bhai. Thank you. सर हमें लंदन कब ले जाओगे आप? भाई मैं अगले महीने जाऊंगा, फिर आपको भी बुला लूंगा। सर कोड फाइल आपने क्यों सही, आई हैव शेयर्ड द कोड फाइल यार, अपने ग्रुप पे शेयर कर लो। किशोर भाई 10वीं बार बोल रहा हूँ, हाँ। डेटा NS test is an attribute, is another HTML attribute which Newton School uses to read your test cases. लंदन जा रहे हो हमें छोड़कर सर? नहीं भाई, वहां से भी पढ़ाऊंगा तुम लोगों को, बस अलग टाइम पे पढ़ाऊंगा, कहीं नहीं जा रहा मैं। थैंक यू सर, बट स्माइल भी। ओके यस आई विल स्माइल। सर होल wants to know what is your CTC at Facebook. What are you going to do with that? It's a lot. क्या करोगे जान के? Just to know. Ping me personally, I'll tell you if you want to know. कल क्लास है। गुड नाइट गाइस। चलो जाओ भाई, अब कोई क्वेश्चन है तो पूछो। डू यू लव टीचिंग? आई लव टीचिंग, दैट्स व्हाई आई एम हियर। डू यू लव लर्निंग? आई डोंट थिंक सो। अरे मेरे भाई आर्यन, तुम्हारा टाइम नहीं चेंज होगा, तुम्हारा टाइम सेम रहेगा। लंदन का टाइम अलग है, मैं दोपहर में पढ़ा रहूंगा बस। आप बंद करो तभी जाएंगे। कोई क्वेश्चन है तो पूछो यार। और स्क्रीन शेयर इज ऑफ नाउ, इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेश्चंस पूछो, नहीं तो कल मतलब मंडे को इंटरव्यू वगैरह दे दो एंड लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द सीरियस कोर्स। इट मेक्स सेंस if we know your CTC, we also make our projection towards that. Okay. Let's say my CTC was 2.5 CR. Then will you make your projection towards that? You should aim for more, right? You should aim for more. Which time of questions interview? I don't know, yaar. Tomorrow class, or what will be asked in the Monday interview? Whatever you've learned in the class will be asked. There is no class tomorrow, guys. Sir, English थोड़ा भी बोलना आता। अरे मुझे भी थोड़ी बहुत ही आती है इंग्लिश भाई, टेंशन मत लो, हो जाता है, चल जाता है काम। जस्ट फोकस ऑन जो क्लास में मैं पढ़ा रहा हूँ, हो जाएगा। योर लिंक्डइन सर, हर रोज मांगते हैं लोग। मेरा नाम सर्च कर लो यार, मिल जाएगा। परीक्षित अमेजोन ज्यादा नहीं है। एनी टिप्स फॉर इंटरव्यू? अटेंड ऑल माई क्लासेस एंड चुपचाप सुनो। यू अटेंडेड द क्लासेस, सो दैट्स इट, दैट्स ऑल यू नीड। डोंट वरी, इट्स गोइंग टू बी इजी यार, डोंट वरी अबाउट इट। अच्छे से दो बस जाके। गुड नाइट दोस्तों। नो क्लास टुमारो, कल कोई क्लास नहीं है। आफ्टर कंप्लीटिंग CSS, व्हाट्स योर नेक्स्ट सब्जेक्ट? इट्स कॉल्ड जावास्क्रिप्ट, इट्स अ लैंग्वेज। कोड दे दिया भाई सबको, अपने व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप पे शेयर कर लो। बहुत सारी रिक्वेस्ट आई हुई हैं लिंक्डइन पे, मुझे पता भी नहीं लगा होगा किसने भेजी है। देयर आर 500 पेंडिंग रिक्वेस्ट दैट आई हैव। ठीक है, किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन तो है नहीं, तो चलते हैं। बाय बाय दोस्तों, मीट यू टुमारो। ऑल द बेस्ट एंड see you very soon. I hope to teach you JavaScript, Node, and a lot of other things. Okay? Bye bye. Bye everyone. Bye. Good night. Take care. No, CSS is not even started. चलो मिलते हैं कल. Bye.